Injuries happen all the time in sports. Whether it's as simple as a scratch or as bad as a torn ACL, athletes get used to the pain. While the worst, most severe injuries are usually thought to happen in football and hockey. The NBA has had its fair share of devastating injuries over the years. Throughout the year, a variety of players will be injured and forced to sit out a few games. These injuries aren't often thought of as being too gruesome, but every so often, we see an injury that makes us look away. Keep in mind that unlike any other sport, NBA players aren't wearing any protection at all. This usually leads to some nasty falls resulting in broken bones, sprains, and a lot of blood spilling onto the court. With so many games in such a short amount of time, many players are pressured to go back in as soon as possible. If not, their team may fall off in the playoff hunt. Let's move forward with our video and have a look at the top 10 worst NBA injuries of all time. So, let's begin. But before we proceed further, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, do hit the subscribe button so that you won't be missing out on any future NBA content. Number 10. Jorge Garbajosa. Garbajosa was a promising player out of Europe. He was signed by the Toronto Raptors to a 3-year, $12 million contract in the summer of 2006. He started his career strong, won Rookie of the Month award in December, and made the NBA All-Rookie First Team after he averaged 8.5 points and 4.9 rebounds per game. Late in the game against the Boston Celtics, however, Garbajosa attempted to block a dunk by Al Jefferson and landed awkwardly on his left foot. Garbajosa suffered a broken fibula, dislocated ankle, and tore multiple ligaments. He began loudly screaming as teammate Jose Calderon held his head. It was so bad that Jefferson turned away in disgust. Garbajosa's injury all but ended his NBA career. He played only 7 games the next season before a second injury on his leg. The Raptors bought out his contract, and he returned to Europe, where he played 3 more years. Number 9. Gordon Hayward. Hayward signed a 4-year, $128 million deal with the Celtics in the 2017 offseason, but he only played 6 minutes of his first season in Boston because he broke his leg in the season opener. Hayward ran down the baseline and went up to catch a lob pass from Kyrie Irving for a dunk, but the play was broken up. When Hayward landed, his foot caught, his leg crumped underneath his body weight, snapped instantly below the knee, and turned his foot at a horrific angle. Hayward screamed in pain as trainers rushed to his side. The break was bad enough that announcer Kevin Harlan told viewers within seconds that Hayward had broken his leg. The reaction echoed that of players on the floor, who turned away visibly disturbed. Hayward endured multiple surgeries and returned to the NBA action 364 days later. While his numbers were significantly lower during his first year back, he has rebounded to form this season and is playing at a high level again. Number 8. Baron Davis. Baron Davis will always be known as one of the most explosive scoring point guards of the 2000s. A multiple-time 20-plus scorer, Davis was just incredible at getting to the rim and slamming it down. Having already faced injuries in the past, Baron Davis entered the 2012 playoffs with the New York Knicks, facing off against the Miami Heat. After a season-ending injury before the playoffs to Jeremy Lin, veteran Baron Davis was the starter for this Knicks squad. In Game 4 of the third quarter, Baron Davis was driving to the rim when he suddenly went down. At first glance, it didn't look too bad, but at a second glance, you can see the knee buckle, causing him to fall. The result of the injury was a partial tear in the patella and a complete tear in his MCL and ACL, effectively ending the veteran's career. Had this injury not happened, Baron Davis may still be even playing today. Number 7. Shaun Livingston. Shaun Livingston was a very good, young, promising player. February 26, 2007 is a day basketball fans will remember for decades and decades to come. Facing off against the Charlotte Bobcats, Livingston went up for a slightly contested layup. When coming down, Livingston didn't adjust his position for a better landing. Most players would have stumbled a little bit, maybe fall down. Shaun Livingston's leg decided to snap. Livingston had ended up suffering a torn ACL, PCL, torn lateral meniscus, a badly sprained MCL, and dislocation of the patella and tibia fibula joint. This injury was so gruesome, ESPN warned its viewers before showing it, and even then only showed a small clip. This was easily one of the worst injuries the minute it happened. At one point, doctors told Livingston he may need the leg amputated. Thankfully, that did not happen, but it did take over 8 months of rehab before Livingston could walk again. Number 6. Rudy Tomjanovich. On December 9th, 1977, the Lakers, led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, were playing against the Houston Rockets and Rudy Tomjanovich. Kevin Coonard got caught up with Abdul-Jabbar, who was holding onto him for seemingly no reason. Both teams slowly started to rush the court, as Jabbar wouldn't let go. One of the people rushing the court was Tomjanovich, who ran straight into Kermit Washington. Washington, for whatever reason, decided the best course of action was to punch Tomjanovich square in the face. The result was ugly. Tomjanovich was hit, and in the recoil of the blast, slipped and fell, landing headfirst on the court. This stopped the fight before it happened, as players gathered around the fallen player to see if he was okay. Blood was rushing from Rudy's nose, and the towel used to stop it turned crimson red in an instant. Tomjanovich recovered, but his NBA career never got back on track, as he retired a few years later. He'd have more success as a coach, leading the Rockets to 2 NBA titles. Keep yourself tuned in as we discover 5 more worst injuries with you all. Hope you guys are enjoying the video, and if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, do it now in order to make sure that you don't miss out on any future NBA content from now on. Number 5. Paul George. On July 31st, 2014, Paul George suffered one of the worst injuries in basketball history. While participating in a Team USA scrimmage, George made up for a chase-down block on James Harden. When he came down, his foot landed on the backstop of the hoop. The force on his foot caused it to snap. Everyone was stunned. George would have to be carted off the court. When the reports came back, Paul George had suffered a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. George had to undergo 2 dreadful hours of surgery in order to get a pin placed in his knee. This injury made the NBA finally move the backstop back to prevent things like this from happening. Number 4. Andrew Bynum. Andrew Bynum was once a rising star. In 2009, Bynum went down in a game against the Grizzlies and took a teammate with him. Again, the injury itself is hard to make out, but the aftermath is as grisly as ever. Bynum was grabbing his knee in pain, screaming in agony. He ended up developing arthritis due to the injury, which would result in surgery at the start of the 2012-2013 season that would keep him out of the whole year. He was never the same after that surgery, becoming a journeyman for the 76ers, Cavs, and Pacers. This is one of those injuries that's gruesome both because of how it looks on court, the immediate reaction, and the long-term effects over the player's career. Number 3. Joe Przybilla. Former NBA player Joe Przybilla ruptured his patella tendon in 2009 against the Mavericks. The Trailblazers center came down from a rebound and landed on his knee awkwardly, highlighting how easily someone can severely injure themselves. The camera didn't get a good view of the injury itself, but it did pick up the aftermath, as Przybilla bounced on the floor and quickly grabbed his knee. He missed the rest of the season, leaving the Blazers without a healthy center. While never a great player, he was never able to get back to his former ability and was out of the league within a few years. Number 2. Glen Davis. In a 2010 playoff game, when Davis landed on the floor and stayed there, they continued play as Davis writhed on the floor and then tried to stumble back into the game. Eventually, the refs called a timeout and replays revealed that Davis wasn't flopping this time. Davis went up for a rebound, but collided with several players and landed on his head. He stumbled up after several seconds and drunkenly wobbled around the court like a chicken with his head cut off. He fell into the arms of a ref and was quickly surrounded by teammates before falling back on the floor. This one's more gruesome because of the aftermath than the injury itself. Watching someone with a concussion wobble around like that is very unsettling. Number 1. Derrick Rose. what would become one of the first several season-ending injuries. Derrick Rose went for a layup in a playoff game against the 76ers. When in midair, his legs went for a little dance. Rose landed in an ugly way and stumbled around for a bit, as if he were still trying to play. He tore his left ACL that day, and ended up missing the entire following season. In his 2013 return, he only played 10 games before another major injury. The Bulls were facing the Blazers when Rose cut for the ball, planting his leg and bending his ankle awkwardly. The bend tore his right meniscus, and he would miss the rest of the season after electing to receive surgery. Unsurprisingly, both legs would give him problems in the following years, arguably ruining a potential Michael Jordan-like career. So, according to you, which injury is the worst of all time? Let us know your answers in the comment section down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thumbs up if you liked it, and do hit the subscribe button so that you won't be missing out on any interesting videos from now on.